Let's go over our agenda first. I'm the director of the school, and I'd like to welcome all of you to our session. We're going to introduce our faculty and staff first, and you'll be hearing from all of them later as they describe their roles and talk about the curriculum of the school. We're going to give you an overview. My director's welcome is about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to introduce each of our faculty, and they're going to give you a brief overview of each of their curricular areas. And then we're going to invite parents and students to join the webinar, and we're going to open it up for questions and answers. And hopefully by the end of the evening, you'll have an opportunity after we do our overview to give you a chance to answer any questions that we may have not answered over the course of the evening. So just to go over how questions can be asked and answered, on your menu bar, you'll see a Q&A bubble at either the bottom or the top of your screen. So during the webinar, you can type questions in. You can either hold your questions until we're finished going over the information, or as you think of them, you can type your questions in, and your questions will be answered in a couple of different ways. We'll either answer the question live through one of our panelists, either one of our students, a parent, myself, or one of our teachers or staff members. Or we can type the answer to your question, and that answer will be typed directly back to you. As we go and gather the questions, if there's a theme of several people asking the same question, we'll answer that question live. We have a couple of us are going to be moderating the questions and taking them in as we go along. So if we see a theme of several people asking the same question, we'll answer that one live, so we can answer that question to the benefit of many people who have asked it. And then when we finish the webinar tonight, after we close up here after a couple of hours, if you still have questions, you can always email us at mams-applications@wpi.edu, and we'll certainly get back to you. And that's all on our website. So there's lots of information on our website, and we encourage you to visit our website where all this information is. So first, I just want to introduce our staff. As I said before, my name is Michael Barney. I'm the director of the school. Anna Bain is our wellness counselor. She's not on the call with us tonight, but we wanted to make sure we listed her in our staff directory. Dr. Kevin Crothers is our STEM and technical writing teacher. Bill Ellis is our physics teacher. Lisa Post is our college counselor. Audrey Reardon is our operations manager. Tom Regley is our math teacher. Kristen Small, humanities. Angela Tarico is our computer science teacher. And Julia Wildfong teaches French and Spanish here at the Academy. And you'll get a chance to hear from all of them as we go through our webinar tonight. So they're all going to close their videos off now, and you'll get a chance to meet all of them as we go through the program a little later on tonight. So first, we'd like you to hear from some of our alumni.
Mass Academy completely changed the trajectory of my education. It challenged me in ways that I wouldn't have been otherwise. I engineered a device to go inside an EpiPen that automatically calls 911 when the EpiPen is administered. And I have a patent, and not many high school graduates can say that they have that.
Being a student at Mass Academy challenged me a lot and pushed me to my limits. It made me realize I could do things I didn't know I was capable of before. Studying abroad in France for 2 semesters, spending a summer out in Glacier National Park. It really opened my eyes to see that anything is possible.
One of the biggest skills I acquired from Mass Academy was confidence. I learned how to read high-level articles. I learned how to make my own conclusions off them and really think critically about everything that's out there. The communication skills really helped me get into Brown and also helped me a lot during my first year of college.
Mass Academy was a great decision. I was able to really do things that I was interested in instead of just following a standard curriculum. Because of Mass Academy, I became a scientist that can do more than just science. I worked in the Senate this past summer, and I was introduced to legislation, policy, things that I had never really seen before. I really want to make sure that I can translate whatever scientific things that I do in the future to actually having an impact.
Mass Academy really just changed the way I thought about what I could do with my life. This past summer and past year at UConn, I worked on creating a proposal for cervical cancer research in India, where I wanted to help more rural women access cervical cancer screening. And that whole process was something that was already familiar to me because of my time at Mass Academy. And I think that's what really allowed me to conduct my research and actually go through with all the things that I wanted to.
The teachers at Mass Academy are really the first people that sat me down and said, you want to do this thing, you want to get a PhD, you want to do research, you can do it. It's possible. We'll help you. Doing the STEM project, going to the science fair at MIT, having all of the classes at WPI really helped me prepare for UC Berkeley and really allowed me to confidently say in my UC Berkeley essays, I want to do this and I want a PhD in this field and I want to do this research.
Since middle school, I've been really into science fairs and research, and Mass Academy helped me bring that passion to like an international stage. Through Mass Academy, I got to travel to places as close as DC, as far as India, to present research, meet with other students, and accelerate my path towards higher colleges. Coming to Harvard, I think probably the biggest skill that helped me was being able to be an independent learner, and that kind of a skill really makes me a more self-motivated student in college.
Mass Academy really fostered an independence in me that led me to be able to do the things that I'm doing now.
I'm a stronger leader, a better public speaker. I am more interested in collaborating than competing with others. I have more passion for what I'm doing, and I long to make a difference in the world.
Mass Academy gave me a lot more ambition. It gave me confidence. It made me set higher goals. Ultimately, it changed my life.
So I think what's important, hearing from the alumni are these words. Every time I watched it, I like to pull out a lot of the things that they comment on when they talk about their experience at the Academy. They said the Academy challenged them. Anything is possible. It gave them confidence. They learned to communicate. Research was a very important part of their experience here. They became a scientist. They just didn't learn about science. We taught them to help, that they would have an impact on the world, that they became independent learners, and that they became leaders and collaborators. So those are very important things to talk about when you talk about the vision of a graduate and what somebody should really get out of a high school experience. And so our vision of a graduate is to be forward-thinking, innovative, inquisitive, and confident. And Mass Academy graduates, this is the vision of a graduate. When we developed this vision of a graduate statement, we polled 300 or 400 of our graduates through a survey, and we said, what does it mean to be a Mass Academy graduate? What are the skills that you developed coming through our program? And this is the wording that we came up with about the vision of a graduate. Our graduates are creative problem solvers and lifelong learners who are passionate and resilient when facing challenges and pursuing new opportunities. They excel in both independent and collaborative learning environments, are able to apply their knowledge and skills, and are both responsive to and respectful of the diversity of others. So that's very important. So these are the kind of the outcomes we're looking for our graduates when they leave here and beyond. So why are you interested in Mass Academy? What are the things that we can provide for you? Individualized instruction. We accept 50 students a year, so you're going to get small class sizes, a collaborative environment, project-based learning, applied learning. You're going to apply your knowledge. I had the opportunity to visit some classes today. Although we are remote, all of these things still apply, and the students were giving their elevator talks about their STEM projects. And the progress that they've made in the short time that they've been here is really remarkable. They're very tuned into individualized research projects of topics that they're very interested in. And then, of course, they get their senior year at WPI, which is tuition free. Students are taking classes with with college students up on campus. Our GPA first term was a 3.92. So the students are very well prepared, and they do very well up on the college campus. So we're really, really proud of them. Some important points about Mass Academy. It is competitive admission. Last year, our admission rate was about 28%. We had almost 200 applicants for the 50 seats. The match is everything. You must be committed to this program. It's a very different pedagogical style. It's not teaching to a test and then taking a test and moving on. It's applying your knowledge. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on here. You learn as much from your peers as you do from your teachers. It's an independent environment. Expectations are that the student takes responsibility for their learning. We have to get them ready for the university environment in the year. So we expect the students to take responsibility for, time management and their homework, and making sure that they want to learn. So we're preparing them to be on the WPI campus in a year. They have their own research project. They do a group engineering project. They do app development. So there's a lot of opportunity for them to collaborate. And we ask the students to do lots of presenting in all of their classes, whether it's a language class, whether it's humanities class, whether it's math class, whether it's their STEM class. They're doing a lot of presenting and a lot of collaboration throughout the day and throughout the year. So junior year, what's your program look like? Everybody, except for the differentiation in language, either French or Spanish, students are pretty much taking the same schedule. So everybody's taking math modeling, advanced physics, humanities, either French or Spanish, computer science, STEM 1 and 2. So STEM 1 is the individual research project. STEM 2 is an assistive technology project. We offer many extracurricular activities, including things like math teams, cyber patriot. A lot of our students are taking Arduinos right now, robotics. So we have a wide variety of extracurricular activities. We require community service. Students need to do 50 hours of community service per year, but it's their choice of what they want to do for their community service. Many of them are doing it back in their own communities. However, we've already had a couple of group community service activities this year already. One of them was at the Community Harvest Garden down in Grafton. We had several students get together and do that as a project. And then students can also apply for a waiver if they're athletes. Many schools will sponsor students to come back and participate in athletics if they're sending schools. So here's actually a picture of some of our students working on their community service project together at the Harvest Garden down in Grafton. Here's some of our extracurriculars, because sometimes people ask, well, this is a math science-based school. Is it like a real high school? Well, of course, we have a lot of extracurriculars. So on the left-hand side is some of our cyber patriot teams, which is Ms. Tarico can speak to this, but it's basically a computer competition to try to, it's all based around cybersecurity. The upper right is our math team, very successful math team with over 50 students involved per year. And then down below, this picture was taken a couple of years ago, but I thought it was quite a nice representation of all the different sports from many different towns. We had football players, basketball players, track, soccer, many field hockey, many different sports represented. Here's a picture of our Team 190. This was last year's team, and we are one of the legacy teams in FIRST Robotics, which means we get an automatic bid to the World Championships every year. And it's a great opportunity for students to collaborate and work together and do real project-based learning around building a robot that performs a particular task every year. You get to be able to do machining, programming, and real problem solving. And it's a wonderful activity for our students. Here's some other school events. This was the prom a couple of years ago. On the lower right, we had brought in some therapy dogs as part of our wellness activities, so students could kind of get some downtime and pat the therapy dogs. The upper right was one of our school dances, and the upper left was our biotechnology extracurricular. It was kind of a whodunit around biotechnology. So obviously there are some challenges this year with right now We were running a hybrid schedule. We've been out of school remotely for a few weeks, but we are still running extracurricular activities, even in remote mode. We had a CAD course running this fall where the students were working on their CAD course remotely. Our Arduino class, when we were in hybrid, was running in person, and the Arduino course is actually going to do a remote lesson this week. So we make it happen, and we're very proud of that. Here's some research pictures. The upper left is our science fair in February, which is the qualifying event for the Worcester Regional Fair. The young lady on the right-hand side was our representative to the International Science Fair a couple of years ago. And in the lower left-hand side, we had taken a group of students, this was 2 years ago, to the NCSSS, which is the National Consortium of Secondary STEM Schools National Research Conference in Columbus, Mississippi, and got to work with and show off their research to students from around the world. There were students as far away as Kazakhstan, excuse me, and Thailand. And there was an interesting story there. One of our students had met virtually with a colleague from Thailand to talk about their research project on a Zoom call, and then got to meet in person to share their research in Mississippi. So it was quite a unique experience for that student. And lots of opportunities here. Here's just a few that have taken place in the last couple of years. The one on the left is a picture from our Diversity Day last year, where all our students, Ms. Small can talk about this, but our students in humanities get a chance to talk about their ancestry and are able to come in and do dances representative of their ethnic heritage and background. And we all make ethnic dishes for lunch and have a big potluck meal. And it's a nice way for students to share their heritage with each other and get to know each other through storytelling and talk about their ancestry. It's a wonderful day. The middle picture was our visit. We brought our seniors down to the State House last year. That's Senator Chandler on the right-hand side and Representative Mahoney on the left-hand side. And a bunch of our seniors got to go to the State House last year and show off their research to our legislators, since they're very interested. Since the legislators support this school, they were very interested to see what our students were up to. And then on the right-hand side, that's Ms. Tarico with 4 of our students who won the Congressional App Challenge 2 years ago, and we got a chance to go to Washington, D.C. to accept the award, and the app was on display in the Capitol for a year. So it was a wonderful honor for our students and for our school. This is a picture of the app fair. So each year, the students all develop in teams. They develop an app that helps the community in some way. So these students had done a hybrid project that was an app and an assistive technology project. They developed a watering system, an automatic watering system for plants. So if you see that little green nozzle on the top, they CAD'd that and 3D printed it, and then developed an app to control it for someone who couldn't lift a watering can. And that device was actually put out in the field and was utilized by a client in the field. We also do outreach events. We try to get out in the community and work with younger students when we can. We've got some relationships with Nativity School and with the TEC school in our neighborhood. And we do something called Splish each year. With the COVID crisis last year, we couldn't pull it off, but we're hopeful that we might be able to do something at least remotely this year to allow our students to kind of give back and use their talents to mentor younger kids in the community. So here's our calendar and schedule. So our school runs from mid-August to late May. We get in about 1,100 hours of instruction. We have 4 quarters or 4 terms. Our breaks are in October. We have a mid-year break, end of December to early January. We have a week in March. And then, of course, no school in the summer. We typically don't have the same holidays as most sending schools. So if you have students here and students in other public schools, the holidays probably aren't going to line up. The school day for juniors runs from 7:45 to 2:45, and then extracurriculars typically run from 3 to 4:30. Because of the circumstances this year, the calendars are obviously running a little different if we're remote or hybrid learning. But you can look on our website under student resources, and you can see our archive schedules all the way back probably 7 or 8 years. You can see what in-person learning looks like. Our reopening plan is on there too, so you can see different versions of schedules in case you have questions about that. And then the school day for seniors, the seniors schedule themselves by term, and it's according to the WPI class schedule. So students just have to check in before the first class of their day so we know they're here for attendance purposes. But the seniors schedule themselves in the university scheduling system. So their day might start at 8, it might start at 10, it might start at 11. They may have class 3 days a week, 4 days a week. It varies term to term. So if we have 50 seniors, there's 50 different schedules. So the senior year, WPI is on a term system. So they have 4 terms. And so their requirement is they have to take 4 math courses, 1 each term, 4 science, engineering, or computer science courses, 1 each term, 4 humanities, social science, or fine arts courses, 1 each term, 2 physical education courses. This year, the requirement was 1 because of COVID circumstances. They have to do a senior project, which is something typically outside academia, but something that they've always wanted to do and really have never had a chance to do it. One of the seniors, one of my seniors that's here tonight, her senior project is to build a radio-controlled plane and learn how to fly it. So her father was very interested in it when he was a youngster. And actually, the father and daughter are here tonight, so that might be a good question to ask both of them. And then 50 hours of community service. So here's our application details, and a couple of these we're going to have a little bit more information on the website December 1st, but I know several people have had questions on these. So the application opens January 1st. So you can start to gather materials. You can see some samples on the website, but you won't be able to actually open the application to January 1st. And the deadline is March 5th, 2021, which is the earliest. We may push that out a little bit, but that's the earliest deadline. We are not going to have an in-person diagnostic test this year in 2021. So there will be no diagnostic test. We would highly recommend that you submit any standardized testing that you may have so we can look at it. That would include a PSAT, an SAT, an ACT, an SSAT, or an AP score. So just something that's got a nationally normed percentile on it, because the more information that we can see from you, the better we can help take a look at all your credentials. And then this is new this year. We're going to highly recommend that you give us a video submission. We are going to give a prompt for that video submission. We're going to ask you to keep the video submission between 2 and 4 minutes. We are going to issue a prompt for the video. The prompt and the instructions on how to submit will be available December 1st. So those things are going to replace the in-person diagnostic test this year. And then we will issue our decisions by early May 2021. We will have a new student orientation in May, and school for Mass Academy will begin in mid-August. We should have our calendar posted once again by January. We're just waiting for finalization of WPI calendar, and we should have that posted by the beginning of January. So the question is, do you have a student that's the right match? We hope that this presentation has and will make you reflect if you are the special student who will be a good fit for Mass Academy. I hope that as you hear the teachers discuss the curriculum, and you got a chance to ask some questions of our students and our parents tonight. You'll know that this place is something that you would like to pursue. We are going to have some opportunities for you to talk to them. We are proud. We were named one of the top STEM schools last year, and then last week the niche rankings came out. Niche.com ranks over 100,000 schools and districts each year, and for the 4th year in a row, we were #1 as best public high school in Massachusetts, best public high school teachers, and best college prep public high school in Massachusetts. And we were also named the #2 best public high school in America. So, you know, ranking scales, you know, look at a lot of different things, but what we like to do is not necessarily look at the number itself, but we like to look at the schools that are in those ranking systems with us. And if you look at the schools that are at the top of those scales, you see schools like, you know, the Illinois School of Math and Science, Thomas Jefferson, the Bergen County Academy, and you look at what the students around in those schools are doing, and it's just, you know, top caliber education in this country. So we're very proud to be mentioned in the same breath with those schools. So I'm going to stop at that point, and I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Reardon, and I'm going to mute my my screen for just a second. I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce herself, and then we'll move on with our faculty.
Hi, everyone. Are you muted? Why is that happening? Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. I'm Audrey Reardon, and welcome and thank you for coming tonight. I am the operations manager at the Mass Academy. So if you ever need to call the school or come through the front door, I will be your first point of contact. Part of my responsibility is being the official keeper of the records. I handle all the required state reporting for the Department of Education, including student information, attendance, grades, and courses. I keep track of all the transcripts, finances. I help students over the summer with obtaining their new WPI student ID number and setting up their WPI email accounts. Also the coordinator for most school events, the biggest being graduation, teacher appreciation, which we have every year, science fairs, and summer programs. So if you have any questions about the Mass Academy or questions in reference to the application process, you can either email us. If you have a specific question, please give me a call. I've been here for 15 years. So if I can't answer it, I will put you in touch with somebody who can. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Crothers, our STEM and science and technical writing teacher.
Welcome. And my name is Kevin Crothers, and I am the STEM and technical writing teacher at Mass Academy. This is my second year, and I have come from teaching biology and chemistry in my past life. And I bring students from the beginning stages of developing and brainstorming an idea and prepare them through the entire process of presenting their ideas, they're testing their ideas, and then also communicating their ideas in preparation for the many STEM fairs that we have. And so first off, we do have several STEM courses. First is STEM 1, and that's an independent research project that the student develops on their own. And I help bring them through that process and help them prepare for STEM fairs, such as the Worcester Regional Fair, but also the state, and then also ISEF as well. And we've had multiple students go on to all three of those science fairs. That is an independent project that students develop on their own. but we also have STEM 2. We can go into the next slide. This is a special STEM class where we end up having a collaborative project, and we work with several community organizations like Seven Hills, Easter Seals, and Elder Services of Worcester. And we collaborate with them to design and develop a solution to a need that they have identified. And so we work with community clients to help bring a solution to make their lives better. And this is part of the whole process. And we've did a great job last year. And I know in the questions, there is a question about how we ended up modifying our curriculum based upon COVID. And our STEM 2 class, which occurred during D term, which was the last part, starting in March, for the last part of the year, our STEM 2 class was really impacted by having students quarantined at home and online. But we didn't stop. We looked at this whole process as an engineering problem. And we engineered solutions, we engineered our way around it, and we ended up collaborating and designing solutions with our collaborative organizations, community organizations, and we delivered products. So in most instances, schools ended up stopping a lot of collaborative projects, but we looked at it as a challenge and we engineered our way through it. And so I think that is a testament to our students and their perseverance through this whole process. So I'm also the technical writing teacher, and we infuse technical writing throughout all STEM 1 and STEM 2. And we end up writing a literature review and also STEM thesis for their independent projects. So that's the end of my description for STEM 1 and STEM 2. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Ellis, who is our physics teacher.
Hello, welcome. My name is Bill Ellis and I teach physics. I've been at the Academy for 15 years now. And so some parts about the physics course. All juniors will take physics, just like most courses other than foreign language, like all the students are taking the same courses. So you're gonna take physics, even if you had no prior physics, and most students have not. And some students occasionally come in with physics and said, but I want a different science this year. But we're focused on making sure everyone has a strong, rigorous physics program. We've developed this over years because it is the most common structure that Massachusetts public schools have, is that most students have bio and chemistry coming into 11th grade. We are well aware that some schools do not do it that way, and we adapt the course and the curriculum to be able to handle those differences. One of the ways we do that is with differentiated assignments. So there's sort of different levels and tiers and choices students can make on projects, labs, and even just regular night's homework. Students can choose a variety of algebra-based or calculus-based problems. And the calculus-based problems are not just math, more difficult in the math, it's more difficult in the science part of it too. So it's sort of a 4 tiers, even though there's 2 sort of tracks of algebra and calculus. And also we foster a collaborative, high challenge, low risk environment on the day-to-day. So I don't grade for right or wrong answers through homework and projects and collaborative in classwork like that. But eventually we get to assessments and we do want to see right answers on assessment, and we have some ways of making that lower risk for a while as well. But 90% of the time, it's not about right or wrong answers. It's about trying things, challenging yourself, and collaborating. So no prior physics is needed. About 80% of our students in the recent 5 years have had no prior physics coming in. So don't feel like that if one school is giving 9th or 10th grade physics that they have a distinct advantage. Statistically, I've shown that they have not. Prior chemistry is helpful because it is one of the physical lab sciences, but also I know that some students don't have that, so it is not required to have chemistry. One of the requirements of the school is you need to have chemistry on your transcript before the start of senior year. And we often offer our own summer program of chemistry if you do not have prior chemistry. No prior calculus is needed. In fact, about 90% of our students do not have a prior calculus course. A strong background in algebra 2 is definitely needed. We use that day in and day out. That's one of the requirements for applying to the school and getting into the school is a strong algebra 2 course. Pre-calculus is not required, but it's helpful. Calculus is not required, but that's also helpful. Just a really strong basis in Algebra 2. Next slide, please. So the physics course is not technically an AP course that's sanctioned through their auditing process, but I'm well aware of their curriculum. I'm well aware of the SAT curriculum, AP Physics 1 and AP Physics C. And I try to develop the course so we cover topics that would allow students to take any of those standardized assessments and be well prepared for them. So algebra, AP Physics 1, AP Physics C, both the mechanics and E&M, SAT Physics and MCAS Physics. For students who are coming from private schools and do not have prior MCAS. And also this year, coming from the public schools, a lot of students didn't get an MCAS last year. So our school will have to offer those, and the physics course will prepare you for the MCAS physics and beyond, for sure. And then just the standardized exams are not a requirement to the course, but most of our students take one or more of those. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Post, our college counselor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Lisa Post, and I'm the college counselor here at Mass Academy. My role as the college counselor is to work one-on-one with students to guide them through the college search and the college application process. This begins in late winter or early spring of junior year. I will also often meet with parents to answer specific questions about the process. Another one of my roles is I am the standardized test coordinator and proctor. These tests include PSATs, APs, and MCAS. I also provide personal counseling to students who are struggling with stress and anxiety, and can provide outside resources for students who may need other types of counseling. I'm a member of the Wellness Committee, and I work with the committee to offer wellness activities to students throughout the school year, which includes, in the years past, we have done a kindness tree where students have written nice things to support and motivate each other. We've had Thankful Thursdays, where the students are able to come to school a little bit later and they sleep in, or they come to school at the regular time, and we will provide them with a healthy breakfast to get them started in a positive way. We provide yoga as part of their PE, and we just try to balance students' mental health as best we can. So that is a few of the roles I play at Mass Academy. I am now going to turn it over to our math teacher, Mr. Regley.
Hey, hello everybody. Thanks for coming tonight or being part of the webinar. The math course at Mass Academy, particularly junior year, we focus on a couple of topics. I always think about math modeling, where we try to take situations kind of out of the real world, maybe bring those into the math world, develop some sort of solution, some strategy, some problem solving. Typically in teams, much of the work we do at the Academy is team-based and group-based, and hopefully the students all kind of support each other and learn from each other. Another big component is in problem solving, and we analyze and play with a lot of different types of problems, for many different resources, particularly some things in number theory perhaps come up. But my focus is on a student-centered cooperative classroom where the teacher might, I'm kind of more of a guide on the side, helping to kind of move stuff along. And but the students are really the driving force of the course, and the students work from each other. We try and always work in groups, and lots of presentations. Where people develop skills in presenting, but also learning from each other and learning to ask questions. And so hopefully, a good supportive environment for the math course. That is for junior year. Senior year, our seniors will 10 courses on campus, on WPI's campus. And then, I'll work out with each of the students what courses map out best for them on campus. Many of the students will go Calc 1 to 4, but we've had other students that maybe came in with some AP Calculus, and maybe they'll start at Calc 3 and 4, and then they'll have some other options available to them. But those are things all worked out for really all of our courses, with the faculty in the students. Hopefully that's what the relationship is. I always think the relationship is between myself and the students, and then certainly the students amongst themselves in supporting each other in the classroom. So that's my big spiel, and that's it. I'm going to stick to it. So I'd like to introduce our humanities teacher, Kristen Small. Kristen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Kristen Small, and I'm the humanities teacher here at Mass Academy. This is my 4th year at the school. And I get a lot of questions each year about what a humanities course encompasses. So I would say first and foremost, the course is primarily a course that is writing intensive. And we look at this question, what does it mean to be human, throughout the year? So I've broken the course into 4 different units. And within each of those units, we pull from literature, history, philosophy, art, music, sociology, psychology, from a range of different cultures and different time periods. Like many of the other courses, it's a very student-driven course. So a lot of our assessments are presentations, discussions, whether it's small group or large group. And then, as I mentioned, writing intensive. So students write typically 2 to 3 essays per term. My goals are to make the students independent and confident writers, to prepare them for their work at WPI in the humanities courses, as well as when they continue on into an undergraduate program. So up here, I have some of the subunits in the course. So we begin by looking at the way in which humans use their beliefs and the way in which we use language to describe our own experiences. And up on the website, you'll find a more detailed overview of the text that we use to do this, as well as the types of assessments. The second unit, we look at human experiences and understandings. So here we pay quite a bit of attention to the history and understanding of race, as well as identity. And that ties in with our Day of Diversity that Mr. Barney mentioned early in the beginning of the presentation. Our third unit looks at the things that we feel that humans do. So we look at conflicts, both interpersonal and war, and then the arts. And we end the year by looking at where humanity might be headed. So we do an overview of the history of science fiction, as well as a look into how AI factors into our understanding of humanity. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that people have at the end, but right now I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Tirico, our computer science teacher.
Hello, everybody. I'm Angela Tirico. Thank you for joining us all this evening. So just talk a little bit about computer science. So the study of computer science involves a variety of topics, such as analysis and design of algorithms, software design techniques, learning different programming languages, software engineering, distributed computing, and mathematical analysis. So computer science, they study how to effectively organize, store, and retrieve data, how to write efficient programs, explore the limits of algorithmic techniques, develop new applications that benefit society, and design effective interfaces between programs and humans. So just to talk a little bit about the course, so the computer science course begins with web design techniques and implementation using HTML and CSS. So students are responsible for developing and maintaining their own personal and professional electronic portfolio in the form of a website. And each student gets to talk about their passions and their interests, and it might be volunteers, organizations that they're a part of, as well as possible jobs if they have jobs that they're working on over the summer or during the school year. And so, their websites get to be presented in a way where they can talk about themselves. And in addition to that, explore all of the coursework that they're doing at our school. And so really what it does is it gives them an opportunity to showcase and highlight, their portfolio from a professional standpoint. And it allows our faculty to get to know all of our students better. The course then transitions into teaching like fundamental ideas of object-oriented methodologies, using Java as the programming language and Eclipse as the integrated development environment. So, we cover quite a variety of different topics from, data types and structures, decisions, iteration, and recursion. We get into designing and implementing classes, graphics, algorithms, standard input and output. The course is strongly aligned to the AP Computer Science A curriculum, that portion of the course, as well as aligning with some of the AP CS principles frameworks. From there, we then transition into our Apps for Good project. Our Apps for Good project is where students work in groups of 3 and they find a need in the community. They find something that they're interested in or a problem in their community that they want to solve, and they figure out a way in which technology can help solve that problem. And so the students will move forward with developing a mobile app in order to address a need in the community. And so they go through all the key aspects of new product development, from idea generation to looking at the market and understanding who their target audience is, to looking at data. What data does the application need? Is it going to pull from different sources, potentially database sources, potentially get information from users, and then looking at technical feasibility. So it really does cover a full life cycle model where they're designing their product, developing their product, testing, and then presenting it in our virtual app fair. This past year, we had a virtual app fair where we were able to still complete our presentations and invite parents and family members to join us, as well as friends and alumni. So we were able to still continue with our Apps for Good project this past March, even though we were remotely working, and we were successful in doing that. So the kids did a great job in developing their applications. So that gets into just a little bit about the course, and I'll be available for any questions that anyone might have after. And so I would like to now introduce Mrs. Wildfong, our teacher of foreign language.
Oh, unmuted now. I'm Julia Wildfong. I teach immersion French and immersion Spanish. I'd like to address a question that I saw in the Q&A in just a second. Because we have students from all over Massachusetts, there's really no one size fits all kind of model. So it's really based on authentic language learning, verbal expression, written expression, comprehension. We use authentic materials such as literature, grammar, music, films and filmmaking, games, projects, discussions. So what they're getting is not a textbook with grammar exercises. They're getting the language input from all kinds of different sources. And the goal of the class is proficiency or fluency as high as possible. So for example, at the beginning of the year, when students come in, I will interview them and record them on a video. And then at the end of the year, I will do the same thing. And their progress is measured greatly by things such as that, also a written portfolio and an audio portfolio. There was a question about what if my student has never had the language before. That is not an obstacle. We've had that situation every single year. At least 6 or 7 students have come in with Latin or Italian or German or something else. Those students are always placed in the intermediate class, and they have separate expectations, extra help. By November and December, they are at the same place or even sometimes ahead of the other students. So if you have questions about that, you can contact me via email. And that's pretty much the program. If you have any other further questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And I'm going to turn the program back over to our director, Mike Barney.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Welfong. Now we're going to take you on a quick video tour.
Hi, we are the Mass Academy School Council Class of 2021 representatives. Welcome to the Mass Academy of Math and Science at WPI.
Mass Academy is a public high school of excellence for 100 academically accelerated Massachusetts juniors and seniors. It was established in 1992 by the state legislature to provide an enriching educational opportunity that emphasizes math and science in a comprehensive, interactive, project-based, and collaborative academic environment. Every student begins their day entering this courtyard. There are several features to notice even before you enter the building. There is key card access to the facility, so only authorized students and faculty may enter with permission. Our cards allow access to the external lobby 24 hours a day as a security measure. There is also a call box which connects directly to campus police. In the last year, we also installed automatic accessible doors to our main entrance.
Our operations manager, Ms. Reardon, greets students, staff, parents, and visitors from her station. Recent additions include the plexiglass protective screen based on COVID-19 recommendations, a hand sanitizing station, new signage to remind students that preventing the spread of COVID-19 is a community effort, and a video screen which displays weekly schedules, events, pictures, messages, and announcements. From this vantage point, you can also see the director's office, our conference room, used for college visitors and collaboration space, the health office, the lobby, and several teachers' offices.
As one enters the main part of the building, you immediately walk past the honor wall, where plaques representing student achievements are displayed, as well as a rotating exhibit of senior posters. These posters highlight the junior year accomplishments, including individual research, team projects in assistive technology and app development, community service, and extracurricular activities. We are proud of the accomplishments of our students and faculty.
The Brickyard is our largest meeting space and holds a variety of events, including keynote speakers, extracurricular activities and events, dances, concerts, and school-wide meetings. The Brickyard is named after our founder, Arthur E. Chase, whose vision, with support of WPI and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, made this academy possible. The grand piano, which is in the corner of the room, brings great joy to the academy, where students can use it to display their musical talent.
Our makerspace continues to be a popular destination before, during, and after school, as multiple iterations on engineering projects can be designed and printed quickly and efficiently. With our MakerBot and Prusa printers, students utilize this space to support individual research projects, as well as their assistive technology team projects. Our library area is a commons that is used by juniors and seniors, and is well designed to support our collaborative nature. Many classes use the space during school time as well. The library area is typically busy with activity from early in the morning until the building closes at 4:45 p.m. Students can be found here working on everything from complex math problems and physics labs to peer reviews of essays or literature reviews of STEM projects. It is also a great space to assemble devices, debug team app projects, or settling in for a good game of chess. Or at the end of the day, it's just a great place to hang out with friends. Throughout the building, and evidenced here, are emergency call buttons, which, when activated, will indicate to WPI police that there is an emergency requiring their immediate presence.
Although all our classrooms are unique, this year is very different, as our typical furniture, which includes round tables in every room, were replaced with traditional individual student desks due to the Department of Education's regulation from COVID-19. The computer science room was the only classroom that kept its basic configuration using the same tables, but at social distance requirements. Each classroom has a smartboard projector, and teachers have access to document cameras so that students can display work for collaboration purposes. Each room also has hand sanitizer stations, an air purifier, and air conditioner for the summer. There's also emergency call buttons, a phone, fire extinguisher, and cleaning products with emergency signage.
For our senior year, we are enrolled in classes here at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, or WPI for short. Seniors enroll as full-time students at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, a world-class technological university which makes Mass Academy the only public school in Massachusetts where students attend a private university full-time while they are seniors in high school. Seniors must successfully complete 3 WPI courses in each of 4 7-week terms for a total of 12 courses. In every term, students are required to take 1 course in each of the 3 major academic areas: mathematics, science, and humanities. Seniors also complete an 100-hour independent study project. Past examples include learning American Sign Language, aircraft flight training, and participating in research at a university and medical labs. Mass Academy seniors attend classes along with WPI students and earn WPI university credit. The cumulative GPA for Mass Academy seniors in WPI courses, based on data from the past 5 years, is 3.80. We are well prepared for college and beyond. Welcome to Mass Academy.
So that was our virtual tour. And what you see here is a list of members of the class of 2021 and parents of the class of 2021 who are now going to join us on the call. So I'd like to say hello and welcome them. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to go back to our video view. And I'm going to ask all of our guests to turn on their videos and say hello to everyone and say welcome. And I've got a few questions and I'm going to then open up the questions to the group. I want to say I really appreciate all of you being here tonight. So I've got a couple of specific teacher questions first, and then I'm going to open up a couple of general questions and ask the parents and students to chime in, okay? So the first subject-specific ones, Ms. Tirico, I've got 2 for you that came up from the Q&A. Both for computer science. Is there a, what type of CS background do you need for your course? And can you just talk a little bit about Cyber Patriot?
Sure. So in terms of background, there is no requirement for students to have had any computer science background coming in. I would say that approximately, 80% of the students have some background, maybe on the borderline of very little to some background. While I do have some students that have had more, or even some students that may have taken like an AP computer science course. So generally the way that the course is structured is there are project opportunities that might have different requirements for students that do come in with more background than others. So they might be given like some independent projects to work on where they get to look at, if you will, an area of computer science that they want to further study. However, there is no requirement for students to have had any background coming in. In terms of Cyber Patriot, so what Cyber Patriot does is it puts groups of students, so teams of 6 students, as newly hired like IT professional, newly hired IT. And so it puts the students in a position where they're responsible for managing a small network, in a company. And what the competition consists of is students are given sort of these different computer systems. So they might be running like Windows, they might be running Linux versions. And on these computer systems, there are vulnerabilities that students have to find and fix. And so, students start to explore parts of the operating system. They look at, different password policies. They look at audit policies. They look to see if there's any malware on the computers. They check to see if there are open ports that shouldn't be open or if there are unauthorized users on the system. Those are sort of the types of categories that students will look for during the competition time. And they get awarded points for finding and fixing any of these security vulnerabilities that are susceptible to potential problems with the computer. In addition to that, part of Cyber Patriot also consists of, there's like a virtual simulation of computers that are networked together. And so you have to do some packet tracing to kind of see how information gets exchanged from one computer to another.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so this one's for students and parents. And so we'll just go right across. We'll give everybody about 45 seconds each to answer this one. What was the transition from your sending school like? So Amrita, we'll start with you and we'll go right across.
For me, when I joined this school, I knew that I really wanted to come because it focused on STEM. So keeping that in mind, I was very excited to come. And I also knew a couple of people. I had one of my friends join with me. So I think that for me, acclimating to the school was very easy and quick. The transition wasn't hard or anything. It's just a new school. And there is a process to getting used to that school and how that works. But I think it was pretty quick and easy. And I was able to make a lot of friends pretty quickly.
Thank you. Andrew?
Sure. So I came from Algonquin, which has about 390 students per grade. So coming to a smaller school like Mass Academy, I thought would be a huge change. And honestly, I thought it was going to be a negative change because of the size, but actually found that with such a tight-knit community, there's so much opportunity for you to meet so many new people. So even with like only 1 year of knowing each other, I think I've talked to literally every single person here. Even if I don't talk to them every single day, I talk to them maybe once a week or several times a month, or just to like talk about school or stuff that we like outside of school. And for me personally, I came to Mass Academy with strength in some courses, but I didn't really know if I wanted to go into that particularly. But I found that even with Mass Academy STEM focus, I found opportunities that really fit me, and I found that overall it really benefited me.
Okay, Julie, from a parent.
Hi, welcome everyone. Yeah, I think I'll talk about the school. I think that Mr. Barney and the teachers did an amazing job making the kids feel comfortable. They were coming from many different schools, many different levels. And I think, their onboarding process for these kids was incredible. With 50 kids, they sent them off. They did a 1 week camp or 4-day camp that was so great at getting kids to know each other and in a way that, kids need from a socialization. So I have to say hats off to the teachers because they really do a great job acclimating the kids, assimilating them into a new curriculum and environment. And kind of to what Andrew Yang said, like everyone brings something unique to the table. And I think with 50 kids, they've been all able to express those and use those skills, not in a competitive way, but more in a collaborative way, which has been so rewarding to everyone.
Thank you. AJ?
Of course, in Amrita's case, Mass Academy was her 5th school. So she was quite used to, making new friends and getting into a new environment. And I think she did find a few friends from her previous lives when she got to Mass Academy. But overall, she just fit in without any trouble. And, of course, it helped to also like the subjects being taught. So overall, it was a breeze for her.
Okay.
And certainly the Cape experience, the 1 week icebreaker or the 3-day, 4-day icebreaker was a fabulous experience.
Thank you. Shida?
Well, personally coming in, I was like a little bit scared because I was like, I've never taken physics. I don't have any CS experience, as I'm sure like a lot of people were worried. But within the first week, it was so obvious that we all just supported each other so well. So Mass Academy has just been a really great experience, and I didn't really have any difficulty transitioning.
Thank you. On.
For me and my transition, I really appreciated how during the first term, during A term, there weren't really any grades. So it really gave us as students the opportunity to get to know our teachers and their policies and what they look for in our work. It wasn't, no teacher was really looking for correct answers or fully polished papers. They all understood that our sending schools had us at different levels, and they didn't care that, or I guess it wasn't emphasized that one person maybe had a stronger math background or someone else had a stronger CS background. They just kind of wanted to see what you had to offer. And it wasn't really stressful because you could just get to know the teachers without having to worry about making everything super perfect.
Okay, thank you. Will?
So when I transitioned into the academy, I came from a relatively small public high school, and I found that the transition in was really freeing for me. Like the academics were at a whole nother level from what I could have ever accessed, and the community was just such a supportive and amazing community to be in. And it brought me way above where I could have gone, where I was, and I really appreciated that. And one thing that I tell everybody that asks me about the school is like, I often hear the difference, like, oh, it's Mass Academy than what regular school or normal school, but we're all normal people here. We all come from regular high schools. And so even if it seems like nerd school, I have my friends who call it nerd school. We're all normal people here. None of us are super crazy or anything like that, at least not to us. So, but I've really enjoyed it, and it's been a great program.
Thank you. Gloria?
I think one of the huge advantages for transitioning into the Mass Academy community is the small size. It's so amazing the amount of feedback that teachers are able to provide, the amount of individual support, how well they get to know the students, and it doesn't take very long for the students to get to know one another, and then also realize that the material is really challenging, and one way that they can all manage that workload and the challenging material is to support each other, and they figured out how to do that really over the course of the year. And while one student might have had a strength in one subject, that another student might have a strength in a subject that was hard for them, and they might be able to kind of team up and help each other out. And I think there was a lot of that collaborative, supportive environment, and that was really refreshing. I think for my son, coming from a high school that sometimes can get wound up in its own competitiveness. So to have that collaborative environment, I think really, although the work is challenging and it's worth acknowledging that, and the kids relish that to a degree, and they learn so much because of it. The amount that they learn because they get pushed, but they're also getting all of this support at the same time. It's really quite amazing.
Thank you. And Neil?
So for me, I sort of thought of transitioning to Mass Academy as like, I guess, an adventure, because you're going to lose something. You're going to leave behind some friends. You're going to leave behind some activities or passions that you might have been pursuing. But the reason that I decided to come, and the reason why I came, was because there's this promise that when you get to Mass Academy, what you're going to get there with the new people that you'll meet and the new experiences that you'll go through is going to be worth what you left behind. And having gone through it and experienced and met all these wonderful people, I can tell you that, at least for me, and I think for everybody who's here, it definitely did weigh the scales towards it was beneficial to come, really, in an academic sense, even a social sense, being around other people who have like a STEM oriented focus, and who are diligent and motivated to work, not just in a way of, I guess, competing with one another, but also, trying to support each other, uplift one another. So there are some kids at our school who are amazing at math, amazing at STEM, and they're the types who will help the rest of us get to their level, who make sure that all of us leave the school being amazing in math, they're amazing at STEM. So when people, Will said that we're all normal people, and we are normal people, and I think that being around all of these other people is what gives off that aura of being something more than normal. It's nothing to do with us. It's being together, really learning from each other and becoming something more.
Well, I think there's remarkable talent in the school too. I mean, the juniors, a couple of weeks ago, we had a cafe afternoon, and several of the juniors performed, and we heard people sing, we saw people dance, we heard people play violin and piano and guitar. I mean, even in this group, we have dancers and piano players and musicians and a class shooter, I mean, skeet shooter in the group here, and we have people who are on statewide STEM committees and tutors, and we have math champions, and I mean, everybody in the room here has just such unique talents, woodworkers. I mean, I'm thinking about all the things that all of you have accomplished. It's just amazing, the talents that you all have beyond just school, so and it's so fun to get to see those as they come out, athletes, runners, I mean, we were having a conversation about cross country the other day, and it's like, oh, that's nothing, but that's, those are huge things that you get to share with people. One of the other questions that just came up is how did we handle COVID, and is COVID different, and how is the school different, and how do we manage it? What's different in curriculum and admissions? And just my comment out of the box on that one, then I just would ask the teachers and students just to weigh in on it. I think what makes us unique is because of our size, we can pivot very quickly on things. I mean, for your grade, for the class of 2021, when this whole thing happened, when this whole outbreak happened, we were on March break, and I think you missed 3 days of school, and the teachers swapped their pedagogical approach to fully online learning, and I think we were out 3 days. And much to your dismay, we were back in full-time online learning, and on day 4, might have even been day 3, when many districts missed 2 months, and you were back in it, and it was just, that's how the transition went, So I think what makes us unique is our ability to change and react to conditions. And even at WPI, I mean, you had the opportunity to be up there in the testing protocol, and you're up there on a college campus engaging in your work full time right now on a campus. So I think those are the advantages of a school our size, and with the faculty that we have. So I don't know if any faculty members want to weigh in on that question. Just another question that kind of relates to that is, because of COVID circumstances, we're not going to be able to host shadow days this year. So I know most of you, just show of hands, who shadowed before you came? Did any of you shadow? So most of you. So we're not going to be able to host visits this year, but what we are going to do is hold virtual shadow opportunities for students to be able to get together with our students, and the students are going to show off some of the work that they do here at the academy, and then to be able to have some smaller conversations with our students to talk about what it's like in the day of the life of an academy student, which was another question on our list. So you won't be able to come to school and sit in a class. You won't be able to sit in a Zoom class per se, but you will be able to have some more intimate conversations with our students, see some demonstrated work, and then have some conversations about what it's really like to be here. So I don't know if any of our faculty or students want to weigh in on what that transition during the COVID thing was like, or what it's like to attend classes within a COVID environment now. Anybody want to jump on that one? or parents? I mean, you were part of it too.
I'll jump on the question. I honestly don't think I could be at a better school, high school right now, given the circumstances that we're in, because we're, especially as a senior right now, because we're truly lucky to be able to be at WPI. WPI is doing quite exceptionally with how they're handling the coronavirus pandemic, because we have the option of being on campus hybrid or being full online. I'm hybrid, and anybody that is in the testing protocol. So we get tested weekly with all the other WPI undergraduate students. So, and we get the same classes that they do still, which some have been impacted more than others, but we're moving on along pretty well, especially better than a lot of other public high schools are. Benefited mostly by the college schedule, but I feel like it couldn't be given where we are, it couldn't be much better.
Expanding on junior year, a lot of my friends, when I talked to them who didn't go to Mass Academy, had like one class a day or like had classes every other week. We had classes every single day, and we had Wednesdays as collaborative days, and we had projects that were still running. We still had homework that we were accountable for, and we still had interviews with our teachers. So Mr. Regley did interviews with all of us to see how we were doing in terms of progress. So everything still continued the way we were going to have it if we were in person. Obviously, COVID had some caused like us to have some limitations, but I think definitely our school handled it a lot better than a lot of public schools and private schools, just because of the fact that we're small and we have resources for everyone, and everyone can bank on each other to have a supportive community and still continue working and growing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd also like to add how last year at the end of the year we had two main projects, STEM 2 and Apps for Good, that both were usually held in person with some high level like collaborative work in person. But even with like this new medium instruction, I thought that like the way the school handled the projects was really well done. And even though, like for example, my STEM 2 project, we had to have stuff 3D printed, and none of us had 3D printers or anything. We worked with Dr. C, and he drove up all the way just to deliver our parts, and I really appreciated that.
Okay, any teachers want to weigh in on any of the changes in curriculum around?
I can a little bit. So not necessarily about changes in curriculum, but I wasn't stressed about moving to online curriculum like many of my friends who teach at other schools were. I felt like I had everything that I needed and that we were ready to go. I think because a lot of our curriculum is student-centered, we don't do a lot of lectures, like I didn't have to sit there and record myself talking for hours at a time. I was able to just sort of transition what we were doing, and we moved into breakout rooms, or, we started acting a play out in class instead of in person, which, isn't necessarily as much fun, but certainly worked.
Another question came up about is commuting a challenge, and what's time management like? Anybody want to tackle that one?
So my commute is, I guess, in the middle, sort of. I live in Westboro, so that's about like 25 minutes away.
Can you speak up just a little bit, Ashita? I can't quite hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
A little better.
If someone else wants to weigh in, then that's fine.
Oh, no, now we got you.
Okay. So I was saying that I live in Westboro, so my commute is sort of in the middle. It's like about 25 minutes, and time management was definitely a challenge, but like sort of depended on the time of the year. Around STEM fairs, a lot harder, but then like sometimes there will be like nicer times when we just have schoolwork. We don't have like many outside projects. And then it's just a lot better.
I can speak from a parent's perspective on time management. You know, I think junior years, it's definitely challenging and hard, but I think if anything, it really forces these kids to learn time management. And some folks work better late at night, some folks get up early, but you have to let the kids figure it out. And I think, you know, to watch my son go through what he went through and to learn kind of what worked for him. He was also a student athlete, so he was going from school to sports, and he's a scout going for Eagle Scout. He was able to manage all of that and still manage the rigors of the curriculum. It was challenging, but I think as parents, we just have to be supportive and not pushy, but let them figure it out. And he was able to do it. But I think the collaborative nature of the group work and the kids themselves, they're able to rely on each other. And if they have issues, they can call someone and say, I need help. So time management definitely is something they have to learn.
Yeah, and from my perspective as a senior, I felt that my time with my experience with time management from my junior year has been really helpful for this year, because as a college student, or as like a full-time college student, for me, usually I have maybe on average 3 hours of class per day, which you would think that I'd have a lot of extra time, which I do, but also with that extra like college level coursework, I also have to manage that time, spend that on homework and studying for tests and exams and work on projects. So I felt that with Mass Academy's rigorous academics, I thought that like it's made my senior year much easier.
Yeah, kind of touching on the other commute half of the question, because I think everybody else touched on time management really well. There's also some commute related questions that I'm looking at here. So we don't have any like buses or anything to get to school. You have to find some way to get yourself to school. Some people got into carpools, people that live near them. Some people, their parents would drive them, just them. I personally drove to school every day. I got my license the day before school started. I got really lucky on that one. And then you just drive down, and we're really lucky that we have free parking at the lot right across the street from Mass Academy when we drive down there. So I can go, first day I went and I got my parking pass from Miss Reardon, and I could go park in there every day. I never had trouble finding a parking spot or anything like that. It wasn't like I'm parking on the side of the road in Worcester and then it snows and you can't find a parking spot. I would get there. I would personally get there at 7 in the morning. I was one of the first people there. So I'd always have to find a parking spot. Even if you got there at 7:45 or 7:40, there were still parking spots in the lot. So there's not really much of a trouble there. My commute was about a half hour, which I think is around in the middle for where people are going. Some people are in Worcester, some people are maybe 45 to an hour away. But I find that if you just work it in to how you build your time, the commute comes just fine.
All right, here's a great question, because this sounds like some of the college essays I've been working on with my advisees. You're grinning now, so see if you can answer this one. Aside from having a passion for math and science, what are some attributes that you would likely see in a Mass Academy student? I've got a couple, but I'm going to hold until you answer. So aside from having a passion for math and science, what are some attributes that you would likely see in a Mass Academy student, or ones maybe that you've developed since you've arrived? Even better.
Well, I think the two that pop out to me are probably creativity and collaboration. I think you need to have collaboration in order to survive at Mass Academy, because we rely on one another and to make the most of the experience. I think that the creativity aspect and like the collaboration comes out not just, well, it certainly helps with the math and science, but outside of that, I think that it comes out in all of our, well, very varied you know, extracurriculars, pastimes, what we like to do for fun. I know one of the parents just mentioned scouts, and you know, that's collaboration right there, you know, at its finest. And I think that, you know, anyone who participates on a sports team or is in a band or orchestra up on campus is also part of that. You know, the collaboration comes in there. And I think maybe because of the combination of the creativity and collaboration, we all also develop some level of leadership wherever it is that we're going.
Okay, anybody want to add on to that?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is a specific attribute, but I think one might expect a Mass Academy student to be very like academically focused all the time, but I think a lot of Mass Academy students really find a good balance, like not to bring up a cliche, but like it's like a work hard, play hard environment. So you will see a Mass Academy students, you know, studying at crazy hours, but at other times they know how to take a break from school and when to take a break from school and appreciate the friends they have, whether that's their Mass Academy friends or like friends from their old school. There is time to like hang out with your friends and see other people and do other things that aren't just science and math. Even like the school sponsors events, I guess like when we were more in person, but Mass Academy students do not do school all day. They have lots of fun, and especially during senior year, you have a lot more free time and you can really build a lot of activities into that schedule.
I would add self-motivated, because Mass Academy students are not passive recipients of their education. They are active participants in their education. And I think they quickly discover that you get out of a project what you put into a project. And the more you put into it, the more you're going to learn, the more you're going to get out of it. And there's also, because I think because of the small size, there's no net. If you're unprepared for class, Mr. Ellis is gonna know. I saw all the smiles, right? Mass Academy students really do have to take ownership over their education. And I think that's an amazing experience. It can be challenging at times, but it is such an amazing experience, and it really does prepare these students to take that next step and to be up independently on the WPI campus as seniors.
Can I add to that? So one of the things I talked to Matt about was, and I've seen in all these kids, is their love for learning. They are there, they want to learn. It's not just learn the content, but learn it, be able to use it, apply it. And they're not learning it for a test, to take a test or to pass a test. They're learning it for application and for real world experience. And it's so awesome to see 50 kids that have that same love of learning be in the same place, because that's where all the magic happens. And it's been really fun to kind of just watch these kids blossom junior year and now senior year.
So there's several questions, probably half the questions left in the queue are about applications. So I'm just going to cover those first. So a lot of people are saying, what do you look for in the application? And so it's a holistic application. So there's a lot of people saying, well, what's the average SAT score for a Mass Academy applicant? Or what's the minimum cutoff score for a PSAT to get in? None of that applies. We look at a lot of pieces of data in the application. We look at recommendations. We ask for 4. We ask for an English or humanities recommendation from their sending school. We look at a math recommendation. We look at a science recommendation. We look at a guidance counselor recommendation. We look at the students' transcripts. So we're looking at their academic progress. We look at all their activities, and we look at essays. You know, so why is the student saying that they're a good fit for the academy? Not why their parent thinks they're a good fit for the academy, but why does the student think they're a good fit for the academy? We look at all that information. And this year we're actually adding that video, which will give the student a chance to ask a prompt, answer a prompt, and create a video to speak to us even further. There's also probably 10 questions here. We couldn't get a PSAT, we couldn't get an SAT in, we don't have an AP test. Those are recommended, but they're not required, because we understand, because of the COVID business, you know, if you can't get it, we're not going to require you to get it. We understand the circumstances around it. If you can provide that data for us, it helps us, you know, because that's another piece of information that we can look at as we're, you know, looking at the holistic application. But if you can't get a PSAT, or you couldn't get an SAT, or you couldn't get, you know, any of those, you know, norm-based national tests, then you can't submit it. So, you know, we're not going to make it required. But we look at all those things, and somebody else asked, well, why does it, you know, if the deadline's in March, why does it take you until May to make up your decision? Because we all read every single application, and we are, you know, we take a long time into making sure that we're finding the right fit for the academy. So it's a long process, and we read every single application. The faculty, all of the faculty is the admissions board. And so, you know, we have a whole holistic reading process to try to make sure that we find the right students for our class. So that's why it takes us as long as it does. So I hope that answers most of the questions in the queue around the testing and around the requirements for the application process. So somebody else asked the question, what's a day in a life like? And some things about extracurriculars and music and things like that. So I don't know if some of you want to weigh in on some of the activities you've been involved with, that might help. So if you want to just kind of go around.
Sure, I'll start with that. So I know somebody asked specifically about orchestra. So yes, at Mass Academy and by extension WPI. So we get access to all of the WPI music ensembles. So for example, I'm in the chorus, and last year I auditioned and got in for districts. But I know many friends that are either in the concert band, in orchestra, in jazz band, what you have it. And there's also so many clubs at Mass Academy too. Like last year, me and a few others were part of this really cool initiative called Graspable Math, which was run by WPI professors looking to create educational software to help people, well, students our age learn math. And it's really fun to play a part in that development process. But there's also stuff like math team, computer science team, cyber patriot, and the list goes on.
Yeah, and in terms of day of the life, it's heavily dependent on whether you're talking about junior year or senior year. It's essentially like living in two completely different worlds, the day in life as a junior and as a senior. Because junior year, it was structured a lot more like a regular high school, in the sense that classes started at 7:45, they ended, I can't remember the end time, around 2:30, and then we had clubs until perhaps 4:45, and then you went home and you had more work to do. It was a very packed day, especially if you had things to do after the doors of the school closed. We had a lot of stuff to do, but in the end, it was worth it. And sometimes I'll stay after school and hang out with people, do homework together, work on the whiteboard on different problems for clubs and extracurriculars and stuff like that. But then senior year, for example, today I had no classes today, because that's just how my schedule ended up working out. And then I'll have, like Andrew said earlier, I have around 2 to 3 hours of class a day. And it's because we work off of WPI schedule, where we have 3 classes per term. And most of them don't run every day. Some run twice a week, or perhaps 4 times a week with certain types of lectures. And as a senior, you have, of course, to attend your WPI classes, and you completely build your WPI schedule. There are some requirements that you have to hit depending on where you come from in your sending school, but for the most part, you're free to pick your own interests, especially in the humanities and the STEM and the science courses, and pick what times. Like my classes usually start around 9, 10. I do early morning. Some people like to go in the afternoon, so you can do whatever you want there. I like having a break in the middle of the day. and I have a lot of freedom senior year, and especially compared to junior year, it feels a lot lighter, but in the end, it's still hard work, but we get it done.
And another thing, so like in junior year, people have been saying, you go to school until 2:45, you might do an extracurricular or stay after to work with friends on homework, and then you go home and do more homework. But doing homework can look like a lot of things. I know during like the STEM fair, around the STEM fair season, a lot of people might not go directly home. They might go to work in a lab on WPI or at another local college and collect data for their STEM projects. So homework isn't always just sitting at your desk doing a worksheet. Homework is actually meaningful. The teachers will actually use what you do every night for their next class, or you bring what you've done at night to collaborate with other people during the day. So there is a purpose to the work you're doing after school.
I think also it depends on, going back to time management. Every student's day looks different just based on how they manage their time. I know that there are definitely kids who are a lot better than me managing their time and could go to sleep at like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And sometimes that wasn't me because I slacked on my time management at some points when we had more work. So I think, yeah, every school day for a student looks the same, but it really depends on how the student budgets their time to doing the different activities. I think there definitely is time to do other things outside of school, which include the activities that Mass Academy offers, as well as WPI, and also extracurriculars outside of school. So it really depends on how the student budgets their time.
So one thing I really liked was like our schedule changing every day, or just having like classes in different orders, because it kept things interesting. And also we have these things called like XYZ days where we sort of mix it up and get to be with more people. So I know that that definitely helped me get to know the class a little bit more. So those were like two things that I really looked forward to every day.
Yeah, and I think, like Ashita said, it never felt like a drudge, like week blending into week after week. There was always like something going on, something exciting to look forward to. And I think that really helped kind of, well, it made the year go by way too fast in retrospect, but it did feel like we were always doing something, and it was meaningful. Yeah.
Okay, there's a couple, I'm going to answer publicly. There was a couple of questions about transportation. So there's no transportation to Mass Academy. So at the beginning of the year at orientation, parents typically get together and form kind of regional carpool networks. And so that's how that works. But we don't have bus transportation. But I think, as Will mentioned, we do have parking for any students who are driving here. They do have access to free parking. If they want to get a commuter parking spot up on campus senior year up in the garage, they have to pay for that. So they can either take the shuttle and walk and park down here, or they can pay for a commuter parking pass up on campus. But typically, parents will carpool if they live further away and they want to trade off on driving. So that's the transportation question. We do not have housing. That was another question. So we do not have dorms. We are a 100% commuter school. So that answers that question. Somebody asked for a list of clubs. The clubs change year to year. We do have several clubs that do take place every year, such as math team, programming team, First Robotics, Cyber Patriot. So those are like the big ones that happen year in and year out. Arduinos, and then Slam Poetry. And help me out here. What else do we have? Math team, I said. What else runs? Huh? Saga.
Biotechnology.
Biotechnology. So those are the ones that definitely run year to year. And then students will bring up ideas. And as long as they don't compete with the big ones and we have enough students that have an interest, we can run organizations. And we have student government, and then the students will run cafe nights, semi-formal, prom, as long as we're not in a COVID situation where we can't get a bunch of people together in the same place. But we do run all sorts of events like that over the course of the year. So there was another question about sports through sending schools. How many of you have participated in athletics through sending school? Bowen, you want to talk about how that works?
So during freshman and sophomore year, I ran cross country with my school. I'm from Worcester, so it's a very short commute. So then when junior year came, unfortunately, since Mass Academy ends at 2:45 and my old school ended at 1:45, I wasn't able to participate in my sport during junior year, but I know plenty of juniors who had later evening practices who would leave school at 3 and make it on time to their other practice. But then for senior year, I've had a lot more flexibility with my schedule. So I've scheduled all my morning classes. And so my classes this term ended at noon. So I could just, take a break for an hour and then I'd be at practice. And it was no problem. It can definitely be hard to balance your homework with your sports practice, but everyone's juggling different activities. And if you make a plan, you can definitely do it. You just have to sign a paper before your season and everything should be all set.
I can share too. So Matt ran cross country. He was driving. So similar to Will, he was driving so he could get himself back and forth. He just, and to her point, you just have to kind of set expectations with your coach in terms of, I may not be able to make every practice, but I'll be there for games or this and that. And I know Noe also played soccer. So it's feasible. You just have to see if it works into your schedule, and then just be really open with your coaches as to, what you can attend and what you can't. But I will say, I think it was a really good mind break for the kids if they are able to do other things beyond just academics, just to give them some other outlets.
Thank you. Mr. Ellis and Mrs. Post, I have one for each of you. Mr. Ellis, when explaining about physics, you mentioned more of algebra and calculus. So can you talk about how you have algebra and calculus in your physics class?
Yeah, I read the question and I wasn't sure if it meant how do I handle both of the two different types of math, or they thought, or why is it a physics class and why are we talking about math? I'm not sure where that question was pointing. I'll address that. Physics is a very mathematical based science, so we have to use math in it. There's a thing called conceptual physics, but it's usually done maybe with ninth graders, and you do more of the concepts and a little less of the math. We still cover the concepts and the topics, and we cover mechanics and E&M. So these are our topics and units, but we use math in it. And we do handle both algebra and calculus at the same time in the same classroom, because we don't separate the students from that. And so the algebra one is handled just the way that a regular algebra class is handled with algebra 2 skills. The calculus is handled by trying to stay in polynomial-based functions, which are easy to do calculus with. And then when they're not, just letting students use their calculator to compute more difficult calculus things. They still have to set it up on paper, and they kind of learn to do that. I give them some guiding questions and guiding problems that helps walk you through them. I don't really teach the calculus. The students start teaching each other. I just want to make sure they're using good notation. And also, we don't teach all of calculus. We just learn a little bit of it that we can either do it on paper or give it to technology and have it give us a response and then continue from there. But it's just part of the nature of how the world works. Newton invented calculus so he could solve the science and physics problems he was working on at his time. It's just a part of the nature of the language. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I've got one here about FIRST robotics. Does anybody want to chime in on FIRST? The question is, 6 weeks sounds like a short period of time to build a robot. And the answer is that's absolutely correct. And the students are amazing that they can do it in that period of time. And it certainly gets very busy and it is daunting. So there is work that goes into the off season. There's a lot of learning about tools and machines and programming and strategy and all those kinds of things in the off season. So when build season actually happens, there is a lot of time, but students have to learn to self-regulate. Actually, the mentors of the team actually had to shut and lock the doors of the lab to force students not to go in, like between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. because they would tend to want to stay there all hours of the day and night. Gloria, you can probably talk about Alec and his overdose of FIRST robotics if you.
Yeah, that rule might have been Alec's fault, and others. The team run 90 is the first robotics team that Mass Academy kids can participate in, and it's a pretty intense group, and build season can be really exciting, and there's a lot, but it is such a collaborative project, and they do have such great support. It's almost like the Team 190 has a system down, because they've been doing it for so long. The seniors train the juniors as they're building the robot. So they're passing down that institutional knowledge from seniors to juniors, and they have great support with mentors up at WPI, and they have fantastic resources with the WPI robotics program. So yeah, Alec found it to be a really amazing experience last year, and he had done robotics previously. He'd been on another FRC team for several years before coming to Mass Academy, so switching up teams was an interesting experience because he was working with a different group, but a lot of kids that did it hadn't done robotics previously, and they learn a lot real fast.
Thank you very much, because I know you were a firsthand witness to that whole thing. So, and it is wonderful and it's intense, and they do learn a lot, and the camaraderie is great. So there was a question here about AP classes, and this one comes up every year. So we have two classes that are aligned to advanced placement standards, the physics class and the computer science class. So those are the two AP tests that we host, because there are many students that want to take those tests at the end of junior year. Many students also choose to take the calculus AP tests, and typically they do that after senior year because they've taken the calculus sequence up at WPI. But aside from those, we do not recommend that students take AP tests or self-study for any AP curriculum, because they're going to have a full year of university study as they enter into WPI. So that's our AP philosophy. The document of our AP philosophy is posted on our website, and we always get that question. Well, what about AP classes? What about AP classes? Our pedagogical approach is different, and we don't recommend that students self-study for AP, take AP classes or virtual classes while they're engaging in Mass Academy, because they're busy enough. And that's our, you can read our philosophy statement on our AP philosophy statement on our website. But the two subjects that our curricula are aligned to the AP standards are physics and computer science, and students would be prepared to take that test at the end of junior year if they feel that a university would need it. And Mrs. Post can, can chime in if she'd like to on that one. So, Mrs. Post, anything else on that, or?
So as far as colleges are concerned with the AP credit, They use AP credit the same way they would use the WPI classes credit that our seniors are taking right now. They would either award them credit so students could take higher level classes, or they might give them credit so that they could either double major in something or possibly graduate earlier. So there really isn't a need to take 10 AP classes because the WPI classes would really do the same thing.
And it would create a lot more stress on somebody trying to do our curriculum and trying to self-study at the same time. So, Mrs. Post, there's another question here about GPA. Do you want to take that one?
Sure.
Yeah. Can you see it?
So Mass Academy does not calculate GPA. We have 50 students that come every year from at least 20 different high schools, and all public schools and private schools calculate GPA differently. And colleges do not require a GPA when you apply to their institution. And if they want one, which I've never heard of a school that required one, what they will do is they will take all the students who apply to the college and use their own formula and use every student's transcript that applies from Mass Academy, from Shrewsbury High School, from any other high school nationwide, and use their own formula to calculate a GPA so everyone's on the level playing field. But there is no college that requires a GPA when students apply. They look at it holistically. They're looking for the courses students have taken, what levels the courses were, and the grades that the student earned in those courses.
Thank you. And then the last question in the queue, and then we've got about 5 minutes. So if there's any final questions or comments from any of the parents or students, then we can wrap this up. The last question is, I'm a parent of a 13-year-old who's an 8th grader. I'm interested to provide him with necessary support to get him ready for MAMS. What are the next steps that he could take? Qualification criteria, things like exams, time frame would help. I say, what we look for are active, engaged students who challenge themselves, take the most challenging courses that they're interested in, and are engaged learners and active citizens in their school and community, right? So they have a balanced resume. We don't want to see somebody that's that does a million activities for a half an hour each. We want people that are engaged in things that they're very interested in, that are interested in the learning, the style of learning that we provide here, that are excited to become part of our community, and are that's what we're looking for, that think they're a good match for this type of learning, that aren't afraid to take an academic risk, because it is a risk, an academic risk, to come here. I mean, every one of the students that you see on the screen here, we're top in their school, and we're involved in a lot in, we're deeply involved in their school community, and they took a chance by coming here, and they found a new home when they arrived, and they've all been very successful here. So that's what I would advise you to do. As far as qualification criteria, if they could, if things get back to normal in this world and they could take their PSAT when they're in 10th grade, that would be a good thing. But other than that, just, take, highly engaging courses, get to at least Algebra 2, and, take interesting science courses. We don't have any required courses, but just take, read, be a reader, be interested in the world around you. And that's what we look for. So, and then, so there's another one here. If we get great grades in main classes such as geometry, decent grades in a class like digital photography, is that better than good grades in both subjects? That's a tough call too, because I think having an interest in in things like digital photography is great because it shows, you know, you got to have interests outside of academics. You know, I mean, usually when I'm in a session like this, I say, how many people here are musicians? And I love it when half the room raises their hand. I say, how many people are athletes? Half the room raises their hand. How many people are into dance? You know, how many people are into, you know, you name it. How many people like to do their community service? We look for active, engaged students, you know. So I think it's good, you know, people in a school that take a, you know, a shop class or, you know, a class where they can use their hands, learn how to take something apart. How many of our students have done an Arduino class? The first thing they did was take a hammer and break apart a VCR or break apart a cell phone to see how it works. That's, you know, you get your hands dirty. That's learning, right? So I think if you have opportunities to do those things, it's good for learning, right? So, and then what CS class would a student who enters with AP CS take? Ms. Tirico, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, I could do that. So depending on if it's AP CS principles, the student would continue with the curriculum that I mentioned earlier in the program. If the student had taken AP CSA, then generally, and I have actually, Andrew, I might call on you in a minute. So what will happen is the student will still continue to work on the website project and the Apps for Good project, because those are, you know, more doing like a curriculum that are not part of the AP CSA framework. And then during the B term and into the C term, usually those students have an opportunity to do something to pick a topic that they're interested in studying further. And so I actually have a couple of students here who were in that track in the same CS course. So if you want to talk about your experiences, Andrew and Amrita.
Sure. So I started with AP CS credit because I took it in sophomore year. So I decided to like have some fun with it and learn something new. So I decided to learn about machine learning. So over the course of, I'd say 4 to 5 months, I learned how to use these machine learning techniques. And then I also used in my own application. So what I did is I had a data set of over 101 different types of food and was able to build an Android application that was able to identify what type of food it was. And I felt like that experience really helped me, especially later on, because last summer I did a course at MIT about machine learning that was 4 weeks long. And I thought that my experience on my own learning about machine learning really helped me for that.
Go ahead.
I was also part of that track since I took APCSA in sophomore year. I'm a dancer, so I thought it would be cool to merge CS with dance, and I was trying to create a tool that would make choreographing easier. So it would basically be a simulation, and I was trying to create a web extension or something that I could put online. And that was something I hadn't done before because a lot of the coding that I was exposed to was Python and Java. So this was something different. So I thought that was very helpful because I was able to also improve on my website and expand my knowledge in something that I'm interested in.
Okay, it's just about 8:30. And so any final comments from students or parents before we sign off to our audience? You've never been shy.
I have one comment that I can make. It's mostly to the parents, actually. When I was first applying to Mass Academy, my father was kind of dissuading me from applying and coming to the school. He was incredibly worried that I would miss out on the high school experience. Not entirely sure what that means, or what he means by that, but can say that you don't miss out on a high school experience, or at least I didn't when I came here. I find, like I said before, we're normal people in an amazing school, and allows us to do a lot of amazing things and have a lot of amazing experiences. So really, I think that the high school experience I've had here at Mass Academy is way better than anything I could have imagined, where I was coming from or anywhere I could have gone. So, and then nowadays I say to my dad, so what do you think now? And now that we're here, it's like, oh, that would have been a mistake to try and convince you to not go to that school. So I just say to the parents out there, hold off worries on the experience for your students, because it really is that great.
And as a parent, certainly I have to second that. I knew Amrita was interested in STEM, and that Mass Academy is STEM focused. It has been an absolutely fabulous experience for her and for me as a parent, watching all the different things that all the students have been involved in. And as a engineer by training, I saw they were involved in projects where they had to collaborate, even during COVID times. And I think it was Andrew Yang who mentioned how the 3D printing was done elsewhere by Dr. C, and then he took the trouble to get all the parts so that they could put things together. And this is something that happens in the real world with globalization and people working in different parts at different times, different parts of the world. So I was humbled by the whole experience to even think of and see that these kids could get exposed to something like that at such a young age.
Okay.
I guess like also to be 100% sure of every class is going to be there for you, and so are the teachers. So even if you're scared, it's okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you all for being here tonight. And if you have any other questions, you can certainly send them to us, and we'll have this presentation posted on our website. So thanks to the teachers and all our panelists, students and parents. And thanks for joining us. And we hope to see your applications coming in after January 1st. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.